Filipino migrant workers have long been a vital part of the global labor force, with millions seeking opportunities abroad to support their families back home. While many find success, a segment of these workers faces precarious living conditions, ranging from exploitative work environments to housing insecurity and, in some cases, homelessness. Although there is no definitive verified ranking detailing the top 10 countries with homeless Filipinos, several nations with large Filipino communities have been reported to exhibit conditions that can contribute to housing instability. The following list outlines 10 countries where various challenges, such as high living costs, limited legal protections, and labor exploitation, may exacerbate the risk of homelessness among vulnerable Filipino migrants. Number 1. Saudi Arabia. Home to a substantial number of Filipino workers, particularly in domestic and construction roles, Saudi Arabia has seen cases where delayed wages and poor employer-provided accommodations have left some workers in precarious living situations. Many workers struggle with strict sponsorship systems that limit their ability to change employers or seek legal recourse, further complicating their living conditions. Additionally, the cultural and regulatory environment can leave migrants isolated from community support, making it difficult for them to access assistance when facing housing challenges. This environment often forces some to endure cramped living quarters or temporary shelters while waiting for opportunities to secure better conditions. Number 2. United Arab Emirates. In the UAE, many Filipino workers are employed in service industries where labor disputes, such as wage withholding and inadequate accommodation, have been reported. The rapid development and high cost of living in cities like Dubai and Abu Dhabi intensify these issues, leaving vulnerable workers with limited affordable housing options. Many migrants find themselves in employer-provided dormitories or shared living spaces that are overcrowded and lack basic privacy. The absence of robust legal protections further aggravates these situations, as workers often face difficulties in seeking redress or negotiating better living arrangements. Number 3. Qatar. Qatar, known for its rapid development and hosting of major global events, employs many Filipinos in construction and service sectors. Workers here sometimes face intense work schedules and substandard housing provided by employers, making them susceptible to housing instability. The fast-paced economic environment and ongoing infrastructure projects can mean that temporary accommodations are often inadequate or poorly maintained. With limited avenues for legal support, many workers endure harsh living conditions, which in turn affect their overall well-being and ability to advocate for better housing rights. Number 4. Malaysia. As one of Asia's most expensive countries, Malaysia attracts a significant number of Filipino domestic helpers who often find themselves squeezed into tiny apartments or shared accommodations. The exorbitant cost of living forces many workers to compromise on housing quality, sometimes resulting in hidden homelessness where individuals are not officially homeless but live in overcrowded or unstable conditions. The city's competitive rental market, combined with strict employment contracts, leaves little room for negotiating better housing terms. Furthermore, social isolation and a lack of community support can make it difficult for these workers to find alternative solutions when their current living conditions become untenable. Number 5. Singapore. Singapore's stringent labor laws and high living expenses also affect Filipino domestic workers and support staff who may struggle to find affordable housing options. Despite regulations designed to protect worker rights, the limited supply of low-cost housing can lead some migrants to live in cramped or temporary accommodations. The pressures of a competitive urban environment can force workers into makeshift arrangements that do not meet basic standards of comfort or security. Additionally, the transient nature of some employment contracts means that workers often move between short-term housing solutions, which can disrupt their stability and access to community resources. Number 6. United States. The Filipino diaspora in the United States is one of the largest in the world. Yet even in a country with strong social systems, some migrants face housing instability. Economic downturns, gaps in social safety nets, and the complexities of transitioning from temporary to permanent residency can leave recent arrivals or undocumented workers particularly vulnerable. These individuals may end up in overcrowded apartments or substandard housing, unable to secure the stability that more established communities enjoy. The challenge is compounded by the high cost of urban living in major cities where many Filipino migrants settle, making affordable quality housing a scarce commodity for the most vulnerable. Number 7, Canada. Canada's strong social systems benefit many Filipino migrants. However, challenges such as credential recognition, job placement, and the high cost of urban housing can still leave some recent arrivals at risk of precarious living conditions. While many migrants eventually secure stable employment and housing, the initial transition period can be fraught with uncertainty and financial strain. Some workers find themselves in temporary housing or facing overcrowded living situations, especially in major metropolitan areas. Despite governmental support programs, the gap between income and living costs can force vulnerable individuals into unstable accommodations, underscoring the need for more tailored housing solutions. Number 8. United Kingdom. In the United Kingdom, Filipino migrants often encounter difficulties integrating into a competitive and expensive housing market. For some, especially those with temporary or insecure work visas, limited access to affordable housing and social support services can heighten the risk of experiencing homelessness. Housing shortages in major cities like London and Manchester exacerbate these challenges, leaving many workers to compete for scarce, low-cost options. In addition, cultural and bureaucratic barriers may prevent some migrants from accessing the full range of available assistance, further deepening the vulnerability of this community. Number 9. Australia. Australia's diverse economy attracts a significant number of Filipino workers. However, issues such as employment instability and the high cost of living in major cities can lead to housing difficulties. New arrivals or those without strong community networks may struggle to navigate the competitive rental market, often settling for temporary or shared accommodations that lack stability. Economic pressures, particularly in cities like Sydney and Melbourne, create a situation where even skilled workers can face housing insecurity. This environment, coupled with the stress of adjusting to a new culture and legal system, can push some migrants toward precarious living conditions that risk long-term homelessness. Number 10. Japan. Although the Filipino community in Japan is relatively smaller compared to other countries on this list, those who work there can face unique challenges due to language barriers, cultural differences, and a rigid housing market. Many Filipino workers find it difficult to secure long-term rental agreements without a robust local network or sufficient understanding of the local customs and legal requirements. The pressure of adapting to a different work culture, combined with the high cost of living in urban centers like Tokyo, can lead to housing instability. Limited access to community support and legal resources further exacerbates the challenges, leaving some workers in temporary or unsatisfactory housing arrangements. While it is difficult to pinpoint an exact ranking of countries based on the number of homeless Filipinos due to inconsistent data and varying definitions of homelessness, the challenges faced by many Filipino migrant workers are evident across multiple regions. Factors such as labor exploitation, inadequate housing provisions, high living costs, and limited social support systems contribute to the vulnerability of these workers. Addressing these issues requires a multifaceted approach involving policy reforms, enhanced legal protections, and improved support networks both in host countries and through initiatives by the Philippine government. By understanding these dynamics, stakeholders can work towards solutions that ensure the well-being and dignity of Filipino migrants, ultimately helping to secure safe and stable housing for every worker abroad.